Alright, so last night, me and my friends went and saw Thor Love and Thunder. I was actually kind of looking forward to it once I saw the trailers. A lot of the stuff seemed cool, and I really liked Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, it was very goofy and everything, but there was just as many serious moments, just as much sci-fi action as I was hoping. So spoilers are ahead, just to let you know. With Taika Waititi doing this Thor film, I had high hopes for it. You know, he has a very specific style, and sometimes there are too many jokes, but at the end of the day, he usually does a good film. With this movie, I realized right off the bat that other than Christian Bale's performance, which, to be honest, I think he thought he was making a completely different movie because he was serious in this movie, minus like a moment here or there with twisted humor. He did a great job. But other than his stuff, as soon as I saw what the story was going to be, and I saw the opening of the movie, I realized this movie was going to be very, very humorous. And at times, I laughed out loud. Like, a lot of moments I thought were genuinely funny. But then there was a lot of moments that just beat the humor over your head. And it just kept going, it kept going. It didn't give it a moment to breathe. A lot of the serious moments weren't given time to breathe. Not all of them, not all of them. There are a lot of good serious moments that I really enjoyed. But I have to be honest, once it got to a certain point in the film, like I said, spoilers, so I'm going to use all the details I can. At a certain point, Gore shows up, and he captures all the Asgardian kids from, New Asgard, and Thor, and Jane, and Valkyrie, they have to go save these kids. And to do this, they find out that Gore is in, the Shadow Dimension, because Thor's, talking with Heimdall's son, who kind of has the same power as Heimdall, and so Thor gets a peek into, where the kids are being hidden. They find out they're in the Shadow Realm, and they realize they need an army to go after Gore. So they go to this city full of gods. And it's the part from the trailer, we see Zeus, and Thor gets his clothes ripped off, which I thought that part was pretty funny. But then they're going to ask these gods for help, and the gods say no. And once they say no, their plan is to bum rush Zeus and steal his lightning bolt, because they realize they could use a lightning bolt. Which is weird because, it's also got lightning powers just like Thor. And there's two weapons in this movie other than the lightning bolt that have lightning powers. Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. But I guess because Zeus is like the god above gods in this movie, his is more powerful. So they decide to bum rush him. And this is where the movie broke for me. Because the whole point is the villain is Gore the God Butcher, and he's trying to kill all the gods. Thor and his team go to the other gods to go after Gore, but when he doesn't get what he wants, they start killing gods. Zeus's men start running around to attack Thor after Thor and Jane and Valkyrie and Korg start fighting them. And you see, gold blood going everywhere. And I'm like, well, are these like some sort of, androids, but they, they're not thought of as androids because, in the MCU, the gods are mysticism and science mixed, so they wouldn't call it androids. But then Thor throws Zeus's own weapon back at him and stabs him through the chest. And up until the end credit scene of the movie, you believe Zeus is dead. And Thor basically believes he killed Zeus. Does he freak out about it? No. Is there a moment of reflection of, oh, what have I done? Sometimes you got to do hard things to defeat the villains and, reflect upon it later and figure out whether it was the right choice. No, it's just played off as a joke. And Thor is proud that he killed Zeus, which earlier in the movie he had stated Zeus was who he based his whole motif off of when he was younger. Because he's the god of thunder, and Zeus is the god of lightning. And he kills him, and he has no remorse. He's like, oh, I killed Zeus. And they're just like, oh yeah, woo! Everyone I went to see this movie with agreed that is what basically broke the movie. It's one thing if the movie was hitting you over the head with humor constantly, like the goats were funny at first and they wouldn't shut up, or like the three-way love triangle, well obviously, love triangle's three people, but the love triangle between Thor, his hammer, and his axe was funny the first time, but it eventually got stupid. Like when he was starting to pour beer over Stormbreaker, I was just like, this is so stupid. That was like after he had killed Zeus. Once he kills Zeus, I'm not watching this as like an experience. I'm out of the movie now experiencing. It's basically a comedy. It's a parody, like Jeremy Jahns kind of says. It's a parody, but it has serious moments in the movie. And I don't know what it is. I haven't heard one reviewer talk about how Thor kills Zeus. And yeah, Zeus survives. To me, that doesn't fix it because Thor doesn't learn that Zeus survived. And he doesn't breathe a sigh of relief. No, the whole movie, he thinks Zeus is dead, and he's proud that he killed him. He's like, I killed Zeus, oh my gosh. You guys ruined Thor, okay? And here's the thing. I am glad they brought Jane back. I've wanted Jane to be back for so long. I was hoping she had a scene in Endgame so he could have a moment with her like he did with his mother. It didn't happen. Jane came back, had the powers of Thor. I was like, okay, this is cool. And even the way she gets her powers in the movie, I understood it. At first you're like, okay, why is it calling to her? Why does she have these powers? But, you kind of get hinted at in a montage that Thor, in a drunken stupor, was telling Mjolnir how much he loved Jane and told Mjolnir to protect her, and accidentally cast a spell on it saying, basically, protect Jane. And as she's dying, that's why it summons her and gives her the powers, which I liked. But not only do they now make them basically murderers like the villain they're going after, because they've killed gods just as much as Gore has, or at least on screen, but now Jane is just like, okay, the whole concept that the villain is going after the gods is one thing, but then we find out he has somehow off-screen discovered eternity in the middle of the universe can grant a wish to the first person who shows up. That's kind of a cool concept, but as soon as everyone learns that Stormbreaker's the key, like, no one has any desire to try to get away from Gore and get there first, you know what I mean? They have Stormbreaker. They could just run and eventually go back to eternity, but they fight him first, lose the axe, and then luckily get there in time. And that's the thing. It's one thing if, like, they escaped, lost the axe, Stormbreaker, and then, Jane's dying of the cancer because they find out that with her using the hammer, it is hindering her body's ability to fight the cancer. So the more she uses the hammer, the more she's actually dying. But they play that entire moment off as a joke. First off, actually. Like, eventually they get to the emotional part of, oh, Jane, you can't come with me on this mission. You'll die. And I would rather have you and love you than lose you because you wanted to help me fight. And at that moment, I kind of was back into the movie once he started telling Jane he loved her and he didn't want to lose her just so she could help fight. But everything leading up to it, I was like, dude, stop fucking joking. He has your fucking axe. Go get the axe. Explain to her you'll be back and she can't help you. Yeah, maybe have an emotional scene, but stop with the fucking jokes. And then he goes outside to talk to Valkyrie and joke. It's like, oh, dang. Dude, come on. Why are there jokes after joke after joke here? You just lost the axe to Gore and you escaped barely. Jane's dying, and you're playing off these jokes about, oh, well, I found this vending machine with no door on it. Here's all the food. Joke. Like, they lingered on the jokes way too much, especially after Gore has the thing he needs. The fact that no one hustled to get that axe away from him as soon as they found out it was the key to opening eternity just bothered me. And then during the fight, they didn't even try to rush to the portal that Gore opened to eternity to get the wish first. Like, they lingered on the fact that she destroyed the Necrosword. And again, like I said, full spoilers. She destroys the Necrosword, and Gore runs off to the portal. But they talk to each other for a while instead of hustling to the portal first. At first, I was like, okay, so what's the deal with them letting Gore stare at eternity? And when it comes to Gore's plan at the end, when he gets to eternity to make a wish and he realizes that the sword's kind of killing him, he hadn't thought ahead that maybe his wish should involve him and his daughter both coming back. You know what I mean? He said, if she comes back, she'll have nobody. You don't have a way of wishing that she comes back and your health gets fixed at the same time. That he didn't think about that ahead of time. Like, I feel like that's a little bit forced. And, Thor could have used eternity to wish Jane from dying, And someone pointed out, they said the first person that gets to eternity gets to make a wish. Okay, that's fine. They didn't specify that only happens once. So, when Thor leaves with Stormbreaker, couldn't he have just opened the portal again and wished Jane to be back? Like, I just feel like there's too many places here that don't make too much sense. And it's all within a story that's filled with jokes, too much at times, in a story where Thor does what the villain does. Kills a god. And yes, like I said, Zeus survives, but Thor doesn't know that, and he boasts about killing Zeus. I don't know, I hated this movie. Within this movie, there were amazing moments. I've wanted to see Jane back. I hate what they did with Thor here, just because he is kind of funny to the point of being a moron, and he's a murderer now. They have made him a murderer. And I've heard people say, well, Zeus deserved to die. Maybe. But really all that happened was Thor showed up, was like, we need your help. Zeus said, no, I'm afraid. And so they fucking kill him and steal his weapon with no remorse. Yeah, Zeus may have been a douche, but he didn't do anything to deserve to be killed by them. You know, I figured if anything, because I saw in the trailer they have Zeus's weapon. So I figured Gore would show up, kill Zeus. Or, when Zeus says no, like in any normal movie, there would be a moment of stopping and, you know, having the characters figure out a new plan, and it'd be a little more slow and suspenseful as they try to sneak around God City and steal Zeus's weapon. But no, they just fucking murder him. Yeah, they just kill him, and it ruined it for me. You know? I couldn't even enjoy what little moments were in the movie that were awesome. As long as I wanted to see Jane come back and be with Thor, and they did that part of the story justice, until the end where Jane just dies. You know, they bring her back to be a hero, and she just dies. And yeah, I get it, it was dramatic, but up at that point, it was just like, Thor had just given a speech to Gore about how, you know, killing gods is not the way, even though he just fucking killed a god to get the weapon to fight Gore. It's hypocritical. And then, by the time that Jane is dying, I'm just thinking, well, first off, the rules of eternity are very poorly stated. So, could Thor have also made a wish later? Could he have opened back up the portal with Stormbreaker, which is his weapon, which he still has at the end of the movie, and saved Jane? And I feel as much as Thor didn't want to lose Jane again, his hustle to get to that portal first was very lacking. And it probably would have been more of a, you know, sad moment for me if they hadn't made Thor murderer. At that point, the movie was broken. All the glass barriers were just shattered for me, and I was watching a product. As far as good things in this movie, Valkyrie was cool, Jane was awesome. Thor was awesome when he wasn't being a doofus. It was great seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy, and one of my favorite moments was when Thor was about to give a rousing speech at the beginning, and Quill's like anticipating it, ready to hear it, and he starts mouthing the speech like he's heard it before, and he loves the speech. He was like, yeah, Thor's doing his thing. And I genuinely laughed out loud when Thor tried to leave and was like, I gift you my ship, even though it's Quill's ship. Yeah, in the previous movies, I was like, I was tired of Thor trying to steal Quill's stuff, but that was a moment of genuine humor that I just didn't expect. You know what I mean? But I felt like there was too much humor in this movie that I couldn't enjoy it. And the bare bones story was, oh, Gore wants to kill gods because his daughter died because gods wouldn't save him. He shows up, attacks Asgard, steals the kids. They're like, oh, we need to get the kids back. Let's go find an army. Oh, we can't teleport with Stormbreaker because Stormbreaker's jealous that I miss Mjolnir like an ex-girlfriend. Let's just use Stormbreaker to power his ship. Like a joke influences the plot. But then after that, they go to God World. The gods are like, nope. They kill a god, go straight to the Necro Planet or whatever, the Shadow Realm, fight Gore, find out about the axe, don't even try to get to Eternity first, run off, waste time with jokes, then go fight Gore, and then by that point, once the kids were turned into Thors, you know, like, there's a moment where Thor saves the kids, and they don't have any weapons, but he tells them to grab random scraps that could be weapons, and then he gives them his powers temporarily, which I think it was because of Zeus's weapon. It gave him the power to do this. It's just like the final battle in that movie being with kids fighting these giant monsters, especially one of them using a bunny as a lightning blaster. Come on, man. I just thought that was dumb. That's like in Logan when the kids kill the main villain, the guy with the robot hand. Like, that's pathetic. You know, I thought that was just kind of dumb. And it could have been heart-wrenching if they'd have, like, given the kids serious awesomeness, but they're fighting with toys. Can there not be a moment where there's pure seriousness? Does there have to be jokes in every inch of the movie? And it's hard to take the rousing speech seriously when Thor is a hypocrite in this movie for killing a god. And by the way, the end credit scene where Zeus is still alive miraculously somehow, and he decides to send Hercules after Thor deserves that for what happened. He deserves to get his fucking ass kicked by Hercules. And that scene's just a ripoff of the end of Guardians 2, where the gold people send Adam Warlock after the Guardians. It's literally just a ripoff of that scene. And I wouldn't mind it so much if it weren't a contrived plot point that ruined Thor as a character. There was another thing that happened in this movie that I wanted to happen in it, much like a lot of things that happened that I wanted to happen. That also got ruined was Sif returning. Finally, we get to see what happened with Sif. She comes back into the fold. We find out she gets attacked by Gore, she survived, and she's missing an arm. Thor's trying to save her, but they play the whole scene off like a parody. Like, he's like, oh, Sif, you're missing an arm. She's like, I am? Shit. Like, it's not a serious moment. It's all played up for jokes. And then they bring her back, and I feel like bringing Sif back just to have her sidelined, is just stupid. Like, after all this time, we don't know how she feels about the Warriors 3 being killed. We don't know how she feels about Asgard being killed. We don't know how she feels about anything that's happened in the past fucking decade. She comes back, makes a joke about her arm missing, stays out of the movie most of the time, and then shows back up training someone with swords, still without an arm, in a world where robot arms exist. It's just another wasted opportunity in this movie. When he goes to that god world, he could have recruited Hercules. That's how he could have come in. I think I heard in the comics that they were best friends, and now they're enemies because Thor's a murderer. So many missed opportunities. Could we have gotten a Moon Knight reference with Khonshu showing up and be like, I have a warrior to help you? Could we have gotten a Black Panther reference with their god showing up and be like, I have a warrior to give you? There are avatars in this MCU universe for these gods, and in this movie the gods are like, no, we just do whatever we want. We don't really care about humans, even though we've seen in the MCU there are gods that care, that get involved. And it would have been nice to see eventually, like, there's only so much you can put in a movie, but how these gods are connected to the Eternals, because the Eternals pretended to be these gods. So, like, maybe because we saw Celestials in this film, maybe Celestials are allies with the gods and they're using the Eternals as stand-ins so the gods don't have to get their hands dirty. I would have liked to see how that would have turned out later on if they hadn't made this whole movie a giant joke fest and then ruined Thor. And now Jane is dead, and she could come back, I guess, but that means, that's even more of proof that death is not permanent in these movies. And they just shouldn't have killed her in the first place. We do get to see her go into Valhalla, which could have been a sweet moment, because she shows back up in Valhalla and sees Heimdall, and he's like, welcome to Valhalla, Jane Foster. But the movie didn't take anything else in this fucking movie seriously. And by that point, I was already angry. Like, when the movie ended, my fiance was like, hey, so what'd you think? I was like, no, I did not like it. And she knew I was going to say it. She saw my face the whole movie. Like, as soon as Thor tried to kill Zeus, it broke the movie for me. The reveal of him killing Zeus reminded me in theaters of the moment I found out the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 was just a stupid actor. Like, for the rest of the movie, I didn't care, you know what I mean? There were moments, but I knew how I felt about the movie from there on out. And it sucks, because I really wanted to like this. I've wanted to see Jane come back. I actually like Valkyrie. I got over Korg, but now I'm tired of Korg, dude. Like, come on. Yeah, bro. Hey, let's go kill this god. You're just doing whatever you want now. I'm Korg. Yeah. Bro. Smacking on top of the top boobs, yo. I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the MCU, because Phase 4 has kind of been very much not linear. They've been doing these different sections of the universe, and I feel like they'll eventually bring some of it together. I don't doubt that. But so far, it's been very separated, and this movie really did not help. Like, I'm going to be honest, I liked Eternals more. Yeah, Eternals was a slow go. It was very much like Marvel tried to make a Lord of the Rings film with a Marvel formula, still somehow. But I liked Eternals more than this movie, because this movie did not take the characters seriously. At least Eternals tried to take the characters seriously. It was a movie full of missed opportunities and messed up characters. And too many jokes, man. Too many jokes. The actors did a great job. They were great at acting, in my opinion. I had no problem with anything the actors were doing. I think fully the script just failed the characters. And to have Jane come back after all this time to die, I mean, like, I didn't mind that she was a little rusty at it, because she's fairly new at being a Thor, She's awesome. I like Natalie Portman. I liked Jane, and I feel like she got a bad rap, and she could have been written better in the other films, but I personally didn't like the direction they took her in, She could have been a good mainstay with all the original Avengers disappearing. This could have been an awesome opportunity to have Natalie Portman come back to the MCU and be a badass hero. And if they bring her back now, again, it just cheapens the fact that she died in this movie. On top of the fact that they never specified that Thor couldn't go back to eternity again and make a wish, as far as I remember, you know what I mean? To bring her back. I don't know, I feel like the movie was sloppy, and it sucks. It's unfortunate. I hope the next MCU movie is better, and if Thor shows back up somehow, I hope he gets a chance to shine again. Here's to the next MCU movie. Let's hope it's good.